No, I read a lot and go horseback riding and stuff like that.
Clara Hale was digitizing Elvis's 1976 Jungle Room recordings at Graceland. These were sessions recorded just months before the king passed. As she cleaned the tape hiss, she discovered something that producers had once buried. What were the raw moments that had been edited out for decades? Join us as we unveil the long-hidden story of the king, the voice in the silence. Ernst Jurgensen was a skilled listener. His hands are careful hands, and they have spent years learning the language of sound itself. He moves through the world quietly, speaking only when necessary, observing everything. There is a gentleness to him that comes not from softness, but from understanding that some things matter too much for carelessness. He is a man who believes that history lives in small moments, in the spaces between notes, and that every sound deserves to be treated like a confession. The archive room at Graceland sits like a vault of memory. Shelves line the walls, holding hundreds of magnetic tapes and boxes, worn soft from decades of handling. Dust particles float in the afternoon light coming through the high windows. The temperature stays constant here. The humidity is controlled. Everything in this room exists in a state of careful preservation because everything in this room is fragile and everything in this room matters. On an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, Ernst stands over a table with a technician, beginning the work of saving voices from the past. They are transferring reel-to-reel tapes from Elvis's 1976 home sessions. These were recordings made in private moments, in Graceland, when the microphones captured something real. The tapes are dying, thanks to time and chemicals. Magnetic tape does not last forever. The coating that holds sound begins to break apart. Years accumulate like invisible damage. Ernst explains the process to the technician in his calm way. He talks about how hiss grows louder as the tape ages, the crackling that starts like a whisper and becomes a roar. He describes how frequencies fade, how the high notes disappear first, how the human voice begins to lose its clarity and brightness. It is like watching a photograph fade in sunlight, except it is happening to sound itself. The technician adjusts the playback equipment carefully. The machine hums to life. The tape begins to turn. A voice fills the room, and for a moment, something dead becomes alive again. They work through the reel, listening, monitoring, and taking notes on what they hear. Most of it flows smoothly. Then the technician lifts his hand. He flags one section of tape and leans closer to listen. The voice is singing, and then between the lines, there is breathing. But this breathing is different from normal breathing. It sounds heavy and labored. Ernst listens again, and again. He listens the way he always listens, with complete attention, without judgment, just receiving what the tape is telling him. A moment passes, where the technician looks at Ernst with a question in his eyes. Could this be something strange? Could this be something unexplainable? Ernst shakes his head slowly. He understands what they are hearing. There is nothing paranormal nor mysterious. What they are listening to is something far more real and far more sad. This is the sound of a body failing. This is the sound of a superstar whose physical machine is breaking down. This is the sound of Elvis Presley in 1976, still singing, still reaching for the high notes, still trying to be great, but doing it through a body that was betraying him. The breathing tells a story that no one wanted to hear. The breathing tells the truth. Ernst sits back slightly. He understands now why this tape was flagged. The anomaly is painfully, honestly human. It is the sound of decline, captured accidentally in a private moment. It is the sound of vulnerability that no one was meant to hear. That was not all they found. Let's go deeper. The laugh between the takes. Matt Ross Spang moves through sound, the way an archaeologist moves through layers of earth. He is precise and methodical, someone who understands that hidden things do not reveal themselves easily. He has the patience of a person who knows that every answer lives somewhere in the details, and that rushing will only destroy the evidence. When Matt enters a studio, he carries with him the weight of knowing that he might discover something that was never meant to be found. The studio in Nashville holds equipment that would have seemed like science fiction just decades ago. Computers hum quietly in the corner. Screens glow with waveforms that look like mountain ranges and valleys, visual representations of sound itself. On the table sits the multi-track recordings from the 1968 special, one of the most famous television broadcasts in music history. These are the original tapes, And they are here because someone believed Matt could extract something precious from them. The 1968 special was legendary. It was filmed in Memphis. It was recorded across multiple tracks, each instrument and each voice captured separately on its own channel. The world heard the final, mixed version, the polished broadcast that reached millions of viewers. But beneath that final version lived other versions, other moments, other sounds that the world never heard. Those sounds exist on the multitrack tapes like ghosts in the machine. Matt begins the work of isolation. He sits at his console, moving between channels, turning up one track and turning down another. The microphones that captured this performance were everywhere, positioned to catch every instrument, every voice, every movement. The process is called mic bleed. Sound does not stay where it is supposed to stay. A microphone pointed at one instrument catches sounds from everywhere else. Conversations that were meant to be private were recorded on channels meant for other things. He isolates the background channels, the ones that were never meant to stand alone. The voices of engineers and producers and musicians waiting in the studio appear suddenly, like people walking out of fog. And then he hears something else. He hears Elvis before the performance. He hears the moments in between the takes, the moments when the cameras were off and everyone thought they were not being recorded. Matt leans forward. He is listening to someone joke. The jokes come with a nervous quality, a tension underneath the words that does not belong to someone in full control. These are not the confident jokes of a superstar. These are the jokes of someone trying to manage fear. These are the jokes that come before battle, before stepping into the light, before facing the world. Matt enhances the frequencies. He brings up the clarity on the audio. The studio dialogue becomes clearer now, and the vulnerability becomes undeniable. Elvis is nervous. Elvis is cracking jokes to manage his own anxiety. Elvis is human in this moment, scared and trying not to show it, and the microphone caught it all by accident. Matt sits back and lets the audio play. The jokes continue, the nervous laughter underneath them, the voice of someone preparing to become legendary, even though he did not feel legendary in that moment. The story continues, so keep viewing. What the editors removed. Clara Hale, who has never written a book or given a speech or appeared on television, is the one who knows the most. She is someone whose name appears on almost no credits, whose face is unknown, whose voice is rarely heard beyond the walls of the archive. But she is the one who holds the secrets. She has learned to listen without judgment, to receive information without adding her own feelings to it. There is a kind of power in this neutrality, a kind of strength in choosing to simply witness and preserve. She is the guardian of moments that others would rather forget. The boxes arrive on a Wednesday morning. They are labeled with simple handwriting, the kind of notation that was common decades ago. Jungle Room, February 1976. The labels are faded now, the ink slightly blurred from handling over years. She opens them carefully because everything in these boxes is fragile. The Jungle Room was a real place at Graceland, a den decorated in the style of tropical luxury, with plants and wicker and the feeling of escape from the ordinary world. It was a room where music happened privately, where Elvis recorded without the weight of a studio audience, where the doors were closed and the world stayed outside. She begins the process of digitization. Each reel-to-reel tape gets placed on the playback machine. The equipment hums. The tape begins to turn. She listens and monitors and transfers the audio to the computer systems that will preserve these recordings for another lifetime. The work is methodical and requires complete focus. One mistake, one moment of inattention, and something irreplaceable could be lost forever. Most of the takes flow smoothly. Then one take stops abruptly. The singing is happening, the melody clear, the voice is present, and then it is interrupted. A cough begins. This is a violent cough. It sounds like a body in distress, a physical rupture that cannot be controlled or contained or hidden. The cough continues. It goes on for longer than seems possible. And then it stops, and there is the sound of someone trying to recover, breathing heavily, struggling back toward composure. Someone sat with this tape long ago and decided that this moment of rawness did not belong in the version that would be heard by millions. They edited it out with precision, smoothing the transition, making it seamless, protecting the image of the icon. It was the standard way of working. Imperfections were removed. Vulnerability was hidden. Only the performance remained. But now she holds both versions. She has the official release on one screen and the original take on another screen. The unfiltered decline is captured and preserved forever. No one can unhear it now. No one can go back to not knowing what was removed. Let's go further down this tale and see what else lies hidden. Sound of the room itself. David Briggs is a man with a good memory. He carries decades of sessions inside him like a library, each one cataloged not by year, but by mood, by light, and by the presence or absence of something he cannot quite name. There is a quietness to him that comes from having played alongside greatness, from having watched moments happen that would echo through time. He knows things that cannot be written down, only remembered by those who were there. The year was 1976. Elvis was recording in the room called the Jungle Room, and David Briggs was there at the piano. The room itself was a specific place, not a generic studio designed for recording, but a living space converted temporarily into one. The lights were dim because that was how people lived in rooms like that, not how recording engineers usually preferred to work. But this was not a professional studio session. This was something different. This was someone recording at home. David remembers the carpet. It was shag, thick and textured, the kind that absorbed sound rather than bouncing it around. The room felt enclosed because it was enclosed, intimate in a way that no commercial studio could ever be. There were other people around, standing or sitting, waiting or watching. The atmosphere was not tense, but not entirely relaxed either. There was something in the air that David could feel but not explain. He remembers seeing prescription bottles nearby. They were part of the landscape of the room, part of what made it real. This was a man's home, with everything that comes with a home, nothing hidden or pretended away. The recording was happening in the middle of actual life, not in a space designed to separate music from everything else. Now, decades later, modern engineers have taken those recordings and isolated the elements that were never meant to be heard by anyone. The technology exists now to separate voice from background, to pull out individual sounds that were buried beneath the main performance. What they discovered was the room itself. They heard chairs creaking. When someone shifted position in the shag carpet room, the sound was captured by the sensitive microphones. They heard glass clinking, the small noise of a drink being set down on a table, the ordinary sounds of ordinary moments. They heard Elvis whispering off microphone instructions, his voice caught by accident as he directed the musicians or adjusted something about the performance. These were the sounds that would never have been intended for an audience, the sounds that belonged to the private moment of making music, not the public moment of sharing it. David listens to what the engineers have uncovered, and it brings the room back to him. It brings back the realness of it, the fact that this was not a performance staged for recording, but a moment that actually happened in a specific place with specific people. These were truly home recordings, not polished studio myths created by editing and perfect acoustics and professional distance. They were recordings made in a room where someone lived, in dim light, with the sounds of chairs and glasses and whispered direction happening all around. The rawness of the environment became part of the recording, and the environment itself became evidence that this was real. David remembers walking into the Jungle Room that day in 1976. He remembers the exact feeling of it. Now, hearing those forgotten room sounds restored and amplified, he knows that his memory was accurate. The room was exactly as he remembered it. The room is still there, preserved not just in his mind, but in the tape itself, in the creaking chairs and the clinking glass, and the whispered words that no one ever expected anyone else to hear. The evidence is out, but what else did they discover? Keep watching to see the clue in an album. The voice underneath everything. The audio forensics specialist works in a world of mathematics and emotion, though she would not describe it that way. She is someone who has learned to read sound the way others read language, translating vibrations into meaning and data into feeling. She is patient in a way that requires discipline, because the work she does happens slowly, one frequency at a time, one layer at a time. There is a precision to her that comes from understanding that sound is not simple, that nothing that seems straightforward ever is, and that the truth lives in the details that most people never hear. She believes that technology exists to serve honesty, not to hide it, and that sometimes the most important discovery is what you find when you remove everything else. The screen in front of her shows a song in visual form. A waveform spreads across the display, mountains and valleys of color representing sound itself. This is the album released in 2015, the one called If I Can Dream. This particular song was recorded decades earlier, but it was remixed and remastered and recontextualized for this modern release. Orchestration was added. New arrangements surrounded the original voice. The song was dressed up, given context, placed inside a framework that did not exist when it was first sung. She explains her work in technical terms that are actually quite simple. The modern tools she uses function like something that separates cream from milk, isolating different elements that were mixed together. Spectral repair allows her to identify the frequencies that belong to the orchestration and the frequencies that belong to the voice. Because every instrument produces sound at certain specific frequencies, and because the voice occupies its own range, the software can learn the difference. The technology is similar to what was used to restore a song called Now and Then, where layers were separated and cleaned and brought back to life. She begins the process. The orchestration is removed, layer by layer. First, the strings disappear, frequencies dropping away like colors fading from a photograph. Then the brass, then the percussion, then all the additional voices and arrangements that were added to fill the space around the original recording. With each removal, the song becomes simpler. With each removal, something else becomes louder. What emerges is the voice alone. Not the voice as the world heard it in 2015. Not the voice surrounded by support and arrangement and modern production. Just the voice itself, fragile and isolated against the emptiness of the digital space. The specialist listens closely. She is trained to listen to many things at once, to hear technical details and emotional truth simultaneously. What she hears in this isolated vocal is fragility. There is a trembling quality to it, a shakiness that the orchestration was hiding all along. The additional instruments and arrangements served a purpose, whether intentional or not. They gave the voice something to lean on. They provided support. They surrounded the isolation with presence. Without them, the voice stands alone, and the voice is trembling. The discovery is the raw loneliness that lives in this vocal track. It is the sound of someone singing by themselves in a room, without the comfort of backing instruments, without the security of arrangement, without anything between the voice and the listener but air and time, and the honest act of singing. She sits back and lets the isolated vocal play again. The trembling is clearer now. The fragility is undeniable. All the layers that were added in 2015 were there for reasons that might have seemed artistic or commercial, but they were also there because the voice alone needed help. The voice alone was too exposed. The voice alone revealed too much. Modern restoration science is not about adding or changing. It is about removing until only truth remains. It is about separating what belongs from what does not. It is about hearing what was always there, but hidden beneath everything that came after. The specialist saves her work. The isolated vocal track now exists in the archive, available to anyone who wants to hear what was underneath everything else all along. The voice trembles in the digital file, preserved forever in its loneliness, waiting to be heard by someone who has the courage to listen without the comfort of orchestration between them and what is real. Don't go yet. Elvis's daughter just entered the room. What only a daughter could hear. Lisa Marie Presley is a custodian of memory and legacy, but she is also something simpler and more complicated than that. She is a daughter who lost her father and spent her life managing what he left behind. She understands her role in a way that goes beyond business or legal responsibility. She knows that the recordings and the tapes and the restored material are not just assets or historical documents. They are pieces of a person she loved, fragments of someone who shaped everything about who she became. There is a weight to her knowledge that comes from being close to greatness and understanding its cost. She listens differently than anyone else can listen. The estate has protocols. Before anything is released, before anything becomes public, the recordings must be reviewed. People sit in rooms and make decisions about what the world should hear and what the world should not hear. It is a practical responsibility, a legal one, a business one. But it is also something else. It is a daughter deciding whether her father's private moments should remain private or become part of history. Lisa Marie enters the listening room alone. This is how she prefers to do this work, without advisors or lawyers or business associates present. The door closes behind her. The room is quiet except for the sound system, which is sophisticated and precise. She sits down and the restored recordings begin to play. These are the sessions from 1976, the ones that have been cleaned and separated and carefully brought back to clarity through modern technology. These are the moments from the jungle room, from home, from private life. She listens to the voice that made the world stop and listen. She listens to the voice that was hers in every important way, the voice that shaped her DNA and her fate, and her entire understanding of what it means to be alive. She hears something in these restored recordings that the public has never heard with this clarity. She hears exhaustion. It is there underneath the singing, in the spaces between the notes, in the way the voice sometimes wavers slightly before recovering. She hears longing. It is a quieter thing, harder to name, but it lives in the quality of the vocal, in the way certain phrases are sung with a reaching quality, as if looking for something just beyond reach. The longing is not desperate, but it is real. It is the sound of someone who wants something and knows he cannot have it. She hears what might be resignation. Not defeat, but acceptance of something difficult, a knowing quality that comes with age and experience, and the weight of living a life that was never entirely his own. The resignation does not erase the voice's beauty, but it surrounds it, gives it context, makes it more human and more real. Lisa Marie does not hear anything supernatural. She does not hear ghosts or mysteries, or things that require paranormal explanation. She hears exactly what is there. She hears a man. She hears her father. What is extraordinary about this moment is that she hears her father more clearly than the public ever could. The public heard the myth. The public heard the carefully constructed version, the image, the legend. The public heard what was meant to be heard. But Lisa Marie, listening to these restored recordings, hears something different. She hears the person behind the myth. She hears the exhaustion and the longing and the resignation, and beneath all of it, she hears something she recognizes from her own life, her own memory, her own childhood. She hears her father recognizing himself, trying to reach something, accepting what cannot be changed. When the recording ends, she sits in silence for a long time. The responsibility of the estate is to decide what gets released and what remains protected. But before that responsibility, there is this moment of private recognition, this moment of hearing her father as a person rather than as a legend, this moment of understanding that the rawness being revealed is not scandalous or shameful, it is just true. She approves the restoration for release. The world deserves to hear what her father actually sounded like, and Lisa Marie carries forward the knowledge of what she heard when she listened alone. That's one gold star on the King's legacy. Stay with us as we give you one more mystery unraveled. The breath in the machine. The anonymous technician is the kind of person who exists in the margins of every story. He has no name that anyone remembers, no credit that appears anywhere important, no audience that knows his work was there. He is the person who works late at night because that is when the work gets done, when there are no interruptions, no questions, no one watching. He has learned to find peace in the solitude of the mastering room, in the hum of equipment and the glow of screens, in the work itself. He is someone who has made a choice, long ago, to care deeply about things that most people never think about. He believes that precision matters, even when no one will ever know that precision was there. He believes that work done well, even in complete anonymity, is work worth doing. The mastering room is quiet at this hour. The clock on the wall shows a time when most people are sleeping. Outside the windows, the city is dark, except for the scattered lights of other buildings, where other people are working on other things. The technician is alone, and he prefers it this way. The work requires complete focus, and focus requires solitude. He finishes the transfer of the restored recordings onto the master format. This is the final stage, the moment where all the work of the previous engineers and specialists comes together. The recordings have already been cleaned, separated, isolated, and refined. Now his job is to make sure that what comes out of this room is exactly what it should be. He removes noise with careful precision, not destroying anything that belongs, only taking away what should not be there. He balances levels, adjusting the volume so that nothing overwhelms anything else, so that all the sounds have space to exist. He listens through every minute of audio with complete attention. And as he works, he hears something that he has heard many times before, but which never stops surprising him. He hears the room breathe. It is not a dramatic thing. It is subtle, almost invisible, but it is there. The room itself, with all the equipment in it, with all the spaces between objects, seems to have a kind of presence. The recordings capture this. The microphones picked up the quiet sound of air moving, of the space itself being alive, of an environment surrounding a performance. The technician finishes the work, the master is complete, the recording is ready. He sits back in his chair and lets the final moments of audio play through. And as he listens, something becomes clear to him with a kind of quiet force. The tape does not just store music. Tape stores mortality. Tape captures the fact that the person singing into the microphone was alive in a specific moment, and that moment has passed, and that person is no longer here. The tape holds proof that time is real, and that time moves forward, and that nothing lasts forever. Elvis is not immortal in these recordings. The technician understands this now with complete clarity. Elvis is not a legend, or a myth, or an eternal image. Elvis is human in these recordings. Elvis is fragile. Elvis is fading. The voice contains exhaustion and longing and resignation, because the voice belonged to someone who was tired and reaching and accepting. The voice belonged to someone who was mortal, who was aging, who was aware that he could not hold on to what he had created. The technician reaches over and turns off the machine. The sound stops, the screens go dark, the room becomes silent, except for the ambient hum of the building itself. He sits in that silence for a moment, understanding that preservation has revealed truths that the original producers once softened with orchestration and editing and the desire to show only strength. Preservation has stripped away the protection and shown what was always there underneath. He gathers his things to leave. The mastering is complete, the work is done, and he carries with him the knowledge that tape remembers everything, that mortality cannot be hidden, and that the most important thing an engineer can do is let the truth be heard. Tell us what you think. What else do you think was hidden away in Graceland? Share your thoughts below, and if this tale stirred something in you, share with us in the comment. Let the story of life and legends encourage us to live our best moments.